Hello everyone, this is Crotic giving you Game 5 in a series between Team Liquid and Prime. Here on Monolith Ridge, we have Prime spawning as the orange Zerg player. This is July Zerg spawning as over here at the 3 o'clock position. Meanwhile, we have Junwi spawning as the, I will call pretty in pink Terran over here. Meanwhile, it is going to be Jinro spawning as the Terran player over here on the top left-hand side, a very well-known foreigner in the Korean StarCraft scene. And finally, Liquid TLO, customary random, and once again gets Protoss here on Monolith Ridge. So now moving out, we do see a proxy or a pylon has been set up on this front door as both sides are now doing some scouting, and this should be pretty interesting. I can't read Korean, so don't ask me what it says. Overlords are moving out as well, as this one probe coming in from TLO will quickly be able to do some scouting and trying to figure out what exactly the strategies will be. We now see a supply depot currently being built over here by Junwi, and very important, making sure that there is no hatchery being placed down over here, because he knew that July was a Zerg player, and now simply walking up the ramp and now trying to get some damage. No, not even trying to bother to stop this SCV from building. Knows that the Terran player is here, and then can pretty much deduce that the Zerg player is here. We see an extractor before a spawning pool, so that will allow for the metabolic boosted lings to deal a lot of damage and run across this map very quickly. The extractor is up, but no drones on it just quite yet. Finally transferring 3 drones over, making sure that none of those drones have any minerals in their mouth, as this one probe will be able to return home. Back over here, we now see a one of Junwi's SCVs trying to get some harassment and was able to get some damage onto the building SCV over here, but not enough to take it down. As now you can see this one SCV trying to do a little bit more scouting and giving a little bit of a chase there. Back over here, I guess I have grabbed this replay from the actual allies. Someone will have to talk to me and tell me what that actually says. They may just be discussing strategy. I don't know why they're not using Skype or anything like that. And now we see a barracks being built on the front door as well. So this is a double racks build with a supply depot, and there is no gas to be seen on Jinro. So this is going to be most likely a zealot marine push, maybe with some stalkers or some sentries with force fields as well. So this may be zealot sentry with marines, and that may be a very strong combination indeed, as zealot sentry, generally the only thing that they're weak against are range units, and with those sentries and guardian shields, they will be able to deal damage back against those other units without really receiving all too much. Force fields also very strong at countering banelings and zerglings as well. Marines now back over here. Zerglings now trying to push out. Will they be able to get any real damage? I do not believe so, as we now see a stalker coming out. So I was not expecting the stalker. I was expecting the sentry, as I mentioned earlier. Now TLO sitting, got to be very careful. If he runs out there, those zerglings can simply run by. Had to be very careful and make sure that Prime Zerglings did not have that metabolic boost. We now see a lot of Marines being trained up off of these 2 barracks over here. Zerglings now going to try to walk up that ramp. It is not going to work, but there is that Baneling nest. So this Baneling nest will mean that all of these Zerglings will be able to become Banelings, and if they are very careful, they may be able to splash right here and damage all 3 buildings, perhaps shutting down the production of Jinro as well. SCV now moving out to do some scouting, and there are Banelings, 6 Banelings now being trained. Oh, SCV does not scout it out, now setting down a bunker over here. So those Banelings are going to be able to simply walk up that ramp, and perhaps the Marines now down over here are going to try to absorb some of that damage as those Zerglings are now going to go, they're going to go ahead and now move out. Marines and Banelings now moving out. Zerglings are going to be able to come in from behind. Banelings now going after that supply depot, able to quickly take it down. Down it goes. Also able to damage multiple buildings, getting some decent splash damage, taking out multiple Marines, and now, wow, beautifully done by Prime. Prime doing a great job, and now are going to be able to take down multiple zealots and zerglings over here. Those stalkers do not want to try to engage. We do see that there is a bunker currently being placed down, and now SCVs coming off the mineral line from Jinro. Jinro now being forced back. One barracks has been taken down. Another barracks will be shut down in just a moment, and that is going to be very bad. This bunker should probably be salvaged, as zerglings are coming in and swarming, doing a lot of damage over here. Now back over here, yeah, not much really happening as those SCVs are trying to fight back. It looks as though everything will rely on TLO, as TLO has not lost that many units at all. SCVs continuing to fight against those Marines, but those Marines with those Gauss rifles able to just shoot them down so easily. And now all Jinro has is mining off of 2 mules, and that is it. 2 mules is the same as a mining off of 12 SCVs, so that is pretty efficient. And now trying to establish an expansion over here. So we now see Jinro establishing an expansion, perhaps over here on the south side, under the cover, as multiple Marines are now trying to shoot down this orbital command here. So what is going to be happening? Zergling still gathering out, but yeah, TLO is in trouble. TLO is going to have a very, very difficult time trying to fight against this very large army here. Zealots and Stalkers now moving out. Those Zerglings do not have that metabolic boost. No, they finally have those wings now, so they are going to be able to move much more quickly and move around, perhaps trying to get a surround onto those Stalkers. Zealots now coming in, starting to slice away at some of those Marines, and now Zerglings may just simply try to run by. Oh, and warping in a unit right there. Nicely done by TLO, preventing any of Prime's units from being able to get in. So July unable to move through, but really, things are looking very, very well for July and Junwi as these Marines and Zerglings are just running around the map, and it's going to force TLO to just sit inside of his base and play very, very conservatively. We now see Mule. Oh, what was this? Jinro, what are you thinking? Doing long distance mining from here. Call down the Mule. Well, I guess it does make a little bit of sense since those are our gold mineral patches, but it doesn't matter. That one Mule is going to try to turn around, not going to be able to get any additional minerals. Oh, it looks like those Marines are going to simply allow that Mule to go, and this orbital command once again lifting off. Stalkers and Zealots and Sentries now making their way up towards the north side. Those Marines really want to get away. It does not look like those Stalkers are going to be able to catch up, and now is that Mule going to perhaps try to mine? No, that Mule may not make the trip back. Probably just going to pick up some minerals, but Zerglings now swarming in over here. Stalkers trying to fight against a large number of Zealots. And now more units are reinforcing back over here. This Zealot may get taken down, but more Zealots once again being warped in from behind. Oh, and there's the force field. Very nicely done using those Zealots, being able to just pick off many of those Zerglings there. And all those Zerglings are now simply falling to the wayside. Now back over here, it looks as though there are Marines now trying to regroup, trying to regather, and trying to get back into this game. Yeah, that ping is probably for his partner. It looks as though, yeah, I got this replay not from the observers, but from the actual, from either July or Junwi. So yeah, very, very nicely done. Zerglings now still running around. Marines now trying to absorb some of that damage. If you take a look at the army size, the army sizes are about even. TLO does have the larger army at this stage and point in the game compared to both of those partners, but those Marines are coming in and trying to get some damage. In comes that Guardian Shield. So one Guardian Shield trying to absorb much of the damage from those Marines. Marines are using that shoot and run tactic, able to just get a lot of damage across multiple Zealots, and that was a really, really hard loss for TLO. TLO being forced to retreat once again with his units. There is another pylon being warped in here, and this is all running off of a lot of gateways, and you can see that Jinro is just dumping money into TLO right now because that's all he can really do. Now just trying to mine more off of this, but now in come a group of Zerglings going to try to come in and deal more damage, get some of these, get those SCVs that are trying to harvest more minerals, lifting off once again, and perhaps he should try to reestablish this pace here as he would not get harassed nearly as much. Scanner sweep revealing absolutely nothing as I don't know why he would even bother scanner sweeping there, as he already has one unit in this position here. So one SCV now may be able to try to get underneath that location, and now we see 2850 versus a 2500. So both sides about even. Once again, TLO now with a larger army may be able to move out and deal damage. There are Marines and Marauders here. Roaches are now fighting on creep. Roaches, however, deal a lot of damage against those Stalkers, and now Marauders and Roaches are once again trying to battle it out in the center of the field here. Guardian Shield activating, reducing a lot of the damage from those Roaches and those Marines. Zealots now trying to get some distance. However, without charge, they are not able to really catch up to any of those Marines. Roaches are both sides are now simply exchanging armies, and now all the Roaches have simply been taken down. There are a lot of Zealots still left, or a couple of Zealots still left, and many of them are very low on hit points, but Mass Stalker now coming in as well, and now in comes a force field, so nicely done, but there are now simply too many Marauders. The Stalker's now going to try to engage. Another force field there, stopping many of those units from trying to reinforce once again. TLO really getting a lot of mileage out of his Stalkers, and still has the larger army, so this is still anyone's game at this stage, and TLO continuing to macro up like he was a professional Protoss player. Yes, he did choose random, and getting Protoss again, that must hurt, but back over here, Jinro is just dumping money into his partner, trying to salvage this game. 2725 versus 1700 right now. Stalkers are on the move. Yeah, TLO is microing his units, and now TLO may be able to get some damage. SCVs now coming off the mineral line. This might be a problem, as there is Stim Pack now coming in. So Zealots now need to try to run in and try to catch up, and now those Zealots are getting some damage. Zerglings now coming in as well. So both sides getting a lot of damage, and now trying to fight off of creep. Those Marines, now that Stim Pack has has basically worn off. So those Marines, if they stim again, will be very, very low on life. Those Stalkers should be able to run away if it were not for those concussive shells. Now trying to run back, and now a couple of Zerglings will be able to get them a little bit more pecs onto those Stalkers. Stalkers continuing to run 1800 mineral army and just continuing to pull back once again. Many of those roaches, however, still giving chase, so this might be a problem for those roaches. One of those roaches, oh, very low on hit point, down to 4. TLO needs to be very careful and micro that roach back, and that roach looks like it will be able to fight another day. Back here, more units still being trained, still being pumped out, but slowly but surely, Prime is continuing to build up a larger and larger army, and now finally Prime has the larger army, as Prime is currently running off of 4 bases, while Liquid is only running off of 3. Another proxy pylon going, or another pylon being placed down into the center of the map, and running all of this running off of just what, 6 gateways, 7 gateways, trying to produce as much of an army off of, and compared to the 4 bases, and now the mass barracks from the Terran player, and no even tech to tier 2, just mass barracks, no medevacs, no factories, and now Zergling's now trying to run in over here. Zergling's getting some damage onto some of those SCVs. SCVs fighting back, doing a good job absorbing some of that damage. And a lot of those Zerglings were simply cleaned up there, as another wave of Zealots now being warped in. TLO needs to get some weapons upgrade, needs to get some additional, the Twilight Council for charge on his Zealots. Otherwise, the Stalkers and the Sentries and Zealots are not going to be nearly that strong. We now see the Roaches on the move. Once again, the Roaches, only with a range of 4, have to be very, very careful against this, the Stalker Bioball army, and now trying to get more damage. Marines now coming in through the brush, needs to be very careful. One of those Stalkers will just be forced to pull back. Once again, more Photon Cannons now being warped in, and this is going to be a very, very crucial attack here. Force field splitting up the army, and both sides just fighting back and forth. Roaches continuing the battle. Marines and Marauders unable to get within combat range, and now in comes some Photon Cannons. So the Photon Cannons are now offering some additional help against some of those Marines, but there are so many units now trying to pull back once again, and it looks like those cannons are going to go down relatively easily. SCVs now coming off the mineral line from Jinro, and now burrowed roaches. Wow, so Prime was able to tech to tier 2, get burrowed roaches, and now those roaches will all fully regenerate back up to full hit points, and now start popping back up and dealing damage across multiple SCVs there. Stalker's now going to try to come in, but I do not believe that those Stalkers are going to be able to get any serious damage across the board, as those roaches are a little bit revealed. You can see a little bit of that burrowed movement there, but now in come more roaches along the front door. Probes now need to find a new base. However, many of those probes are simply getting torn apart there as they're being transferred from one base to another. And yeah, playing whack-a-mole against a large army of roaches, just so difficult and many of the times. And what, Zealots now kiting or being kited by those Marines and Marauders. TLO says GG, Jinro says GG, and that is game. So, wow, very well played by Prime here. Some of the 2v2 strategies that I liked coming in from Prime was Prime adopted a lot of the early pressure and was able to shut down Jinro for very, very long. Jinro, forgetting about Baneling Bus and how dangerous they are on 2v2s, over relying on that front door. And as soon as that wall fell down, Zerglings and a whole bunch of Marines were just able to flood through, as Junwi never really got reactors until later in the game. So just a mass Marine army walking straight into the base. And now you also see July Zerg, July running off of 3 bases, Junwi running off of 2. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 2v2 replay between Prime and Team Liquid here on Monolith Ridge.